"Empty your pockets," Lady Cecily Ashford ordered. "The palace has indulged this gardener long enough." Conversation died across the midsummer fete. Eliza Bell stood beside the palace rose terrace, still holding the shears she had used to cut damaged blooms before the guests arrived. Her brown work dress bore traces of soil at the hem. Around her, ladies in bright silk stepped back as though poverty itself might stain them. Two attendants overturned Eliza's basket. Pruning twine, gloves, and rose cuttings fell across the white gravel. Then a silver locket landed amongst them. Cecily smiled. "That belonged to my aunt. She stole it to invent a connection with my family." Eliza did not bend to retrieve it. "My mother wore that locket until the day she died," she said. "You may call me poor, Lady Cecily, but you will not call her a thief." Adrian Wycliffe, Duke of Redmere, lifted the locket from the gravel. When he opened it, his expression changed. Inside was a miniature of Lady Rose Ashford, the woman society claimed had died without a child. Behind the portrait rested a tiny brass key bearing the private seal of Adrian's late mother. "Before we continue, tell us whether you would have surrendered the locket." Lord Gideon Ashford stepped forwards. He was a tall man, with carefully silvered hair and the confident manner of someone accustomed to being believed. "Your Grace, there is no mystery here," he said. "The gardener has taken an Ashford possession and constructed an absurd story." Eliza faced him. "My story began before I entered palace service. You expect us to believe that Lady Rose Ashford became the mother of a gardener? I expect nothing from you." A few guests exchanged startled looks. Servants did not usually answer earls in such a manner. Palace gardeners did so even less often. Gideon's mouth tightened. "Then perhaps you will explain how the locket left my family's collection." "It was never in your collection," Cecily laughed. "You cannot possibly know that. My mother owned it for as long as I can remember." "And what was your mother's name?" "Rose Bell." The laughter around them became louder. Cecily turned towards the guests. "Do you hear? She has borrowed my aunt's Christian name as well." Eliza's face warmed, but her voice remained steady. "My mother did not borrow anything from your family." "You were invited here to arrange flowers," Cecily said, "not to disgrace yourself before respectable society." "I was ordered to inspect the terrace roses after your attendants trampled the lower beds." One gentleman hid a smile behind his glass. Cecily saw it. Her expression sharpened. "Search her cottage." "No," Adrian said. The single word silenced the terrace. Gideon turned to him. "Your Grace?" Adrian closed the locket and held it in his gloved hand. "No room belonging to a palace employee will be searched on the strength of a public accusation. This object belongs to my family." "That has not been established." Cecily's smile faltered. "You recognize the woman inside." "I recognize the portrait." "As my aunt?" "Yes." "Then what more is required?" Adrian turned the locket over. The silver had been worn smooth along one edge. A pattern of climbing roses had been engraved around the back. It was not the Ashford crest. It was the emblem his mother had used upon her private correspondence. "What is required," Adrian said, "is an explanation for this key." Gideon's gaze fell upon the tiny brass object. For the first time, his certainty weakened. Eliza noticed. So did Adrian. Cecily stepped closer. "It may have been added later." "By whom?" Adrian asked. "The gardener." Eliza looked at her. "I had never seen the seal before today." "A convenient claim." "Lady Cecily," Adrian said, "you have made your accusation. Miss Bell will now answer it without interruption." The use of Miss Bell changed the atmosphere. He had not called Eliza a servant or merely the gardener. He had addressed her as a woman whose reply mattered. Gideon lowered his voice. "This is a palace fete. Surely we need not turn it into an inquiry. You turned it into one when you allowed a woman to be accused before several hundred witnesses." Adrian looked towards the orangery. "Miss Bell, come with me." Eliza did not move. "The doors will remain open," he added. Only then did she follow. The palace orangery stood beyond the south terrace. Sunlight entered through high glass windows and fell across rows of lemon trees, white orchids, and flowering jasmine. Adrian placed the locket upon a stone table. Eliza remained standing. "You may sit," he said. "I have been standing since dawn." "That was not the question. I prefer to stand." Adrian studied her. She was 34, perhaps older than Cecily by several years. Her figure was full and strong, shaped by work rather than fashion. A widow's plain ring remained upon her finger. There was grief in her face, but no appeal for pity. "How long have you worked at Alderwyn Palace?" he asked. 6 years. "In the glass houses?" "For 4. I supervised the West Gardens before that." "You are not merely a labourer." "No gardener is merely a labourer." The answer carried no pride, only fact. Adrian opened the locket again. "Tell me about your mother." "She raised me in a village outside Belhaven. She knew more about plants than anyone I have met." "Was she born there?" "No." "Where was she born?" "She never said." "Yet you believe she was Lady Rose Ashford." "I did not say that." "You said the woman in the portrait was your mother." "She is." "Then either your mother was Lady Rose, or she possessed another woman's likeness." Eliza looked at the portrait. "I knew only that my mother had once lived in a grand house. She never named it." "Why?" "She said certain families cared more for inheritance than affection." Adrian's eyes narrowed slightly. "Did she ever mention the Ashfords?" "Not directly." "Not directly." "She disliked yellow roses." "That hardly identifies a family." "No. But she once said they had covered the eastern lawn at the house where she grew up. Lady Cecily ordered the same variety for today." Adrian glanced through the open doors towards the terrace. Hundreds of yellow roses bordered the palace lawn. "Anything else?" he asked. "My mother possessed several books stamped with the letter A. She cut the marks from the covers before she died." "Why would she destroy them?" "She believed someone might use them to find me." Adrian placed both hands upon the table. "You understand why I cannot accept this without proof. I did not ask you to. You brought the locket into a gathering attended by the Ashford family. I wear it every day, not openly. Garden work does not usually require jewelry. Then why wear it today?" "My mother died on this date." That answer caused him to pause. Eliza touched the empty place at her throat. "I wear it each year. Lady Cecily saw it beneath my collar when I bent to repair one of the table arrangements. So she did not find it in your basket." "No." Her attendant pulled it from my neck. Adrian's gaze hardened. "That was not what she claimed." "No." "Why did you not say so before everyone?" "Because those who wished to believe her would still have believed her, and those who did not, they were already watching her hands." Adrian looked at the woman before him with renewed attention. She understood crowds. More importantly, she understood silence. "Do you know what this key opens?" he asked. "No." "The seal belonged to my mother." Eliza stared at him. "The late Duchess of Redmere?" "Yes." "Did she know Lady Rose?" "I do not know. That is not the answer I expected from a duke." "What answer did you expect?" "That you knew every secret in your own family." "No family is so obedient." A reluctant flicker of amusement crossed Eliza's face. It vanished quickly. Adrian removed the small key from behind the portrait. "Did your mother ever visit this palace?" She spoke of glass houses larger than churches. "Alderwyn has 6. She described an iron staircase beneath a painted ceiling of birds." Adrian looked towards the northern end of the orangery. The abandoned royal glass house had such a staircase. It had been closed for nearly 20 years. "Who else knows this?" he asked. "No one, not even your husband." Eliza's expression changed. "My husband died before my mother." "I apologize." "You did not know." "What was his occupation?" "He was a physician's assistant. He died during a winter fever in Belhaven." You did not remarry. No. The answer ended that line of questioning. Adrian respected it. A rustle sounded near the orangery doors. Lady Cecily stood outside with Gideon behind her. Adrian raised his voice. This discussion is private. The doors are open, Cecily said. You made certain of that. They are open to preserve Miss Bell's reputation, not to provide you with entertainment. Cecily's face colored. Gideon placed a hand on her arm. We shall wait outside. Before leaving, he looked at Eliza. His expression carried no open threat. It did not need one. Adrian noticed the exchange. What does Lord Gideon fear? He asked once they were alone. Loss. Of what? Control. That is a judgment, not evidence. It may become both. Adrian took the locket. I will keep this until the key has been examined. No. It may be evidence. It is mine. If Lady Cecily's accusation is examined formally, you will be required to surrender it. Then let someone with lawful authority request it. I am a duke. You are not a magistrate. The answer came so quickly that Adrian almost smiled. Instead, he held out the locket. Eliza accepted it. Keep the key separate, he said. Why? If someone attempts to take the locket, the key may remain safe. She removed the key and tucked it into the inner seam of her sleeve. You have considered theft before, she said. I have considered powerful families. That is nearly the same thing. Adrian looked towards the terrace. I shall speak with Mrs. Miriam Finch. Who is she? She served my mother for 30 years, and if she recognizes the key, then we will know where to search. We? You made an accusation against a family I was expected to join through marriage. Eliza's gaze sharpened. You intend to marry Lady Cecily? The arrangement remains under discussion. Then perhaps you should decide whether truth is part of the agreement. Adrian's expression cooled. You speak boldly for someone who may require my help. I required help when Lady Cecily accused me. You offered procedure. Is that a criticism? No. Procedure is often kinder than charity. For the first time, Adrian smiled. It was brief, but genuine. By sunset, the palace fete had ended. Eliza returned to the gardeners' cottages behind the eastern wall. The other workers watched her with uneasy sympathy. Some believed her. Others believed that no woman could challenge an earl and remain employed. The head gardener, Mr. Powell, met her at the gate. The steward wishes to see you tomorrow morning. Has he said why? He did not need to. Eliza nodded. Gideon had moved quickly. Inside her cottage, she placed the locket beneath a folded cloth. Then she examined the pages of her mother's botanical journal. The earliest entries described ordinary plants: foxglove, feverfew, rosemary. Later pages contained stranger combinations: white rose beside ash, iris beneath glass, hawthorn beneath running water. Eliza had always assumed the phrases reflected her mother's declining health. That evening, she read them differently. They resembled directions. A knock sounded. Adrian stood outside. He was dressed without formal decorations, though even in a plain dark coat he looked entirely unlike a man accustomed to waiting at servants' doors. Eliza stepped aside. Has Lady Cecily accused me of stealing the palace as well? Not yet. What brings you here? Mrs. Finch. An elderly woman appeared behind him, leaning upon a carved cane. She studied Eliza's face for several seconds. Then she whispered, Rose. Eliza's fingers tightened around the door. My name is Eliza. Mrs. Finch entered without waiting to be invited. You have her mouth, she said, and the same habit of standing as though the room owes you an answer. Did you know my mother? Mrs. Finch looked towards Adrian. Your mother's key opened a cabinet in the northern glass house. Adrian placed an old lantern upon the table. The cabinet is still there. Then why have you not opened it? Eliza asked. The glass house has been sealed since my mother's death. Mrs. Finch shook her head. Not because of the Duchess's death. because Lord Gideon ordered it closed after Lady Rose disappeared. Adrian's expression hardened. He had no authority over palace property. Authority and permission are not always companions. They crossed the grounds after nightfall. The abandoned glasshouse stood beyond a walled herb garden. Ivy covered half the roof. Several panes had broken, leaving sharp gaps between the iron frames. Eliza unlocked the side door with the palace gardener's master key. Inside, moonlight fell across dead vines and overturned pots. An iron staircase rose towards a gallery painted with birds. Her mother had described it perfectly. Eliza stopped. She was here. Mrs. Finch touched her arm. For almost a year. Why? She sought protection from her brother. Lord Gideon? Yes. Adrian raised the lantern. Where is the cabinet? Mrs. Finch pointed beneath the staircase. A narrow wooden door had been built into the wall. The brass key fitted the lock. Inside were letters tied with faded blue ribbon. Eliza lifted the first. It was addressed to Adrian's mother. My dear Beatrice, Thomas and I are lawfully married, though Gideon refuses to recognize it. He says my daughter will never bear the Ashford name, nor claim what our mother placed in trust. Eliza read the words twice. Her hands began to tremble. Adrian took no step towards her. He understood that comfort offered too quickly could become intrusion. Instead, he opened the next letter. It confirmed the birth of Rose's daughter. The child's name had been written on the missing final page. Someone had torn it away. Mrs. Finch searched the cabinet. There should be a baptism record. There is none, Adrian said. Eliza looked at the torn edge. Someone found this cabinet before us. A noise came from the broken gallery above. Glass cracked beneath a shoe. Adrian raised the lantern. A shadow moved across the painted birds and vanished through the far door. Someone had been watching them. When they returned to the gardener's cottages, a notice had been fixed to Eliza's door. By order of the palace steward, her employment was terminated. She was required to surrender her cottage within 3 days. Adrian tore the notice down. I will have this reversed. No, he turned to her. You have been dismissed because of me. I have been dismissed because Lord Gideon is frightened. You require somewhere to live. The gardeners will help me. I can offer rooms at Redmere House, and confirm every rumor Lady Cecily wishes to spread. My household would protect you. I do not need to be hidden inside a duke's house. His voice hardened. Pride is not protection, nor is dependence. Mrs. Finch watched them in silence. Adrian folded the dismissal notice. You would rather sleep in a glass house? I have done worse. That does not make it reasonable. No, it makes it survivable. Their eyes met. For the first time, the disagreement between them carried something beyond irritation. Each recognized the other's refusal to yield when duty was involved. Adrian lowered his voice. Tomorrow, I will question the steward. Tomorrow, I will inspect my mother's journal. You believe it contains another clue. I believe she expected the letters to be found. Then why hide them? Because she did not know whether the person holding the key would be a friend. Adrian considered the answer. And now? Eliza looked towards the dark palace. Now someone else knows we opened the cabinet. At Rosemere House, Lord Gideon stood before the drawing-room fire. Cecily entered carrying her gloves. The gardener still has the locket, she said. The locket is no longer the danger. What is? The glass house. Cecily stared at him. You said it was empty. It should have been. And if they found something? Gideon turned towards her. Then your marriage must take place before they find the rest. The following morning, Eliza studied her mother's journal beneath the gardener's shared kitchen window. The strange flower combinations appeared on 12 separate pages. She compared them with the palace planting records. White rose corresponded to section 9. Ash corresponded to account book 4. Iris beneath glass corresponded to the northern glasshouse. The plants were not descriptions. They were a cipher. Eliza followed the first sequence into the palace archive, where she located an Ashford estate ledger hidden amongst royal gardening accounts. One payment appeared repeatedly. A private document depository in London. Beside the final payment was a date written in her mother's hand. 3 days before Rose Bell had died. Eliza closed the ledger. The missing proof had not been destroyed. Her mother had placed it somewhere Lord Gideon could not legally remove it. At that same moment, Adrian entered the room with a letter from his estate solicitor. Lord Gideon had offered him permanent control of the disputed river. There was one condition. Adrian must announce his engagement to Cecily within 7 days. Eliza looked at the letter. "Will you accept?" Adrian did not answer immediately. The river supplied several villages on both estates. Refusing the offer could begin years of legal conflict and threaten the next harvest. "Yes or no?" Eliza asked. He met her gaze. "I will decide after we open the depository box. That is not an answer. It is the only honest one I possess." Eliza folded her mother's journal. "Then let us find out what your honesty will cost." The London depository occupied a narrow stone building behind the Royal Exchange. Its windows were barred, and its clerks spoke in careful voices, as though every secret stored below might hear them. Eliza arrived with Adrian, Mrs. Finch, and Mr. Arthur Lyle, the Ashford family solicitor. Mr. Lyle had resisted the journey until Adrian showed him the entry from Rose's journal. Now he looked less unwilling than afraid. "The box was registered under Lady Rose's married name," Eliza said. "You witnessed the account." "I witnessed a payment," Mr. Lyle replied. "I was never told what the box contained. Did Lord Gideon know about it?" The solicitor adjusted his spectacles. "He knew of several private deposits." "That was not my question." Mr. Lyle avoided her gaze. Adrian placed one hand upon the clerk's desk. "We will begin with the register." The clerk returned carrying a leather volume. The relevant entry recorded a deposit made by Rose Bell, formerly Lady Rose Ashford. Access required 2 forms of authority: the family token and confirmation from the named solicitor. Eliza placed the silver locket upon the desk. Mr. Lyle reluctantly signed. The clerk led them below ground. The box was smaller than Eliza had imagined. Its brass lock opened with the key concealed behind her mother's portrait. Inside lay a dried white rose, a folded receipt, and an empty space where a bundle of papers had once rested. Eliza stared at it. "They are gone." Mr. Lyle picked up the receipt. His face changed. "Lord Gideon accessed the box 28 years ago, after my mother left the Ashford family?" Eliza asked. "Yes." "Before she died?" "Yes." Adrian examined the signature. Then he knew Rose had deposited legal documents. Mr. Lyle said nothing. Eliza lifted the dried rose. A thin strip of paper had been wound around its stem. Only 4 words remained legible: "Where the white rose climbs." Mrs. Finch drew a sharp breath. "The chapel." "What chapel?" Adrian asked. "The old palace chapel beside the south wall. Lady Rose planted a white climbing rose there before she left." Eliza closed her fingers around the flower. Her mother had expected the box to be opened. She had also expected its papers to be removed. The empty deposit was not the end of the trail. It was another direction. Outside the building, Mr. Lyle attempted to leave. Eliza blocked his path. "You remained silent for 28 years. I had no proof of a lawful child. You had proof that Lord Gideon removed documents belonging to his sister. I had a family to support. So did my mother." His face tightened. "You believe courage is simple, because you have already lost everything." "No," Eliza said. "I believe silence becomes easier each time it is purchased." Adrian watched Mr. Lyle absorb the words. "Return to Rosemere House," the Duke ordered. "Bring every Ashford Trust record to the Palace reading on Thursday." "There is no reading scheduled." "There will be." Mr. Lyle swallowed. "And if Lord Gideon refuses?" "Tell him refusal will be treated as an admission that the Trust cannot withstand examination." On the journey back to Alderwyn, Adrian remained quiet. The disputed river flowed beside the road for several miles. Beyond it lay tenant fields already beginning to dry beneath the summer sun. Eliza saw him watching them. "You are thinking of Gideon's offer," she said. "I am thinking of the villages. If you marry Cecily, the water dispute ends, for a time. And if you refuse, it may enter court. The harvest could suffer before judgment is given." Eliza looked through the carriage window. "My mother's rights should not cost families their crops, nor should those families become a weapon used to purchase my marriage." She turned towards him. "Then what will you do?" "I have asked engineers to design a shared channel from the upper reservoir. That will be expensive." "Yes. Can Redmere afford it?" "Not without selling part of my London property." Eliza studied his face. He did not speak as a man seeking praise. He spoke as one describing an unwelcome but necessary task. "Lord Gideon believes you will choose convenience," she said. "Most people do when inconvenience becomes costly. And you?" "I have not yet decided what sort of man I will be remembered as." That evening, Adrian summoned Cecily to the palace library. Eliza did not attend, but Mrs. Finch later told her what had happened. Cecily arrived wearing yellow silk and the expression of a woman prepared to win. "My father says you will announce the engagement tomorrow," she said. "There will be no engagement." Her composure broke. "You cannot mean that." "I do. You require the river agreement. I will settle the river without marriage." "At what cost?" "My own." Cecily stared at him. "This is because of Eliza. It is because your father concealed evidence concerning Lady Rose. The gardener has no proof that she is Rose's daughter." "Perhaps not." "Then you are abandoning me for a possibility." "I am ending an arrangement built upon pressure and concealed property." Cecily's voice sharpened. "She wants your title. She refused rooms in my house when she had nowhere else to live. She knew refusal would impress you." Adrian's expression cooled. "You mistake dignity for strategy, because strategy is the only language your father taught you." Cecily stepped back as though struck. He softened his tone, but not his decision. "You deserve a life not negotiated as part of an estate dispute. Yet I will not provide it by entering a dishonest marriage." When the conversation ended, Cecily did not return to Rosemere House. She went instead to the gardener's quarters. Eliza was repairing storm damage to a frame of young medicinal plants. Cecily stopped beside the doorway. "The Duke has ended the arrangement." Eliza continued tying a broken stem. "I know nothing of it. You expect me to believe that? I have been occupied with saving plants your guests crushed." Cecily looked at the simple room and the women working beside Eliza. "You have taken everything from me." Eliza turned. "I did not choose your marriage. You made it impossible. Your father made honesty inconvenient." Cecily's eyes filled with anger. "You speak as though you are better than us." "No, I speak as someone your family expected to remain invisible." For a moment, neither woman moved. Then Cecily removed a folded page from her reticule. "I found this when I was 16. Eliza recognized the blue paper used in Rose's letters. "My father ordered every page destroyed," Cecily said. "I kept one because it mentioned a baby." "Why?" "I wanted to know what frightened him." Eliza unfolded the paper. "My daughter Eliza bears Thomas's name, though the Ashford Trust remains hers by my mother's settlement. If Gideon denies her, Beatrice will preserve the baptism record until Eliza is old enough to claim it." Eliza's hands trembled. The page named her. It also confirmed that Adrian's mother had agreed to protect the record. "Will you present this on Thursday?" Eliza asked. Cecily's expression became guarded. "If I do, my father will disown me. He may lose control of the estate regardless. That is not the same as losing one's family." "No," Eliza said quietly. "It is not." Cecily looked at her. For the first time, she seemed to understand that Eliza had already endured the fear before her. "I cannot promise," Cecily said. Then do not promise. Decide. If you believe dignity matters more than social rank, you may wish to stay with us for the rest of her story. The old palace chapel had not been used for worship in years. Its roof leaked, its altar cloth had faded, and a white climbing rose covered nearly half the southern wall. Eliza searched beneath the plant's iron support. The soil had been disturbed recently. Adrian knelt beside her and helped remove the loose stones. Beneath them lay a narrow metal cylinder sealed with wax. The seal belonged to his mother. Inside were 3 documents. The first was the registered copy of Rose's marriage certificate to Thomas Bell. The second recorded Eliza's baptism. The third was the original instruction governing the Ashford Trust. Rose's lawful daughter was entitled to Rosemere House, its income, and the disputed water rights. Lord Gideon had possessed no authority to offer the river as part of Cecily's marriage settlement. Adrian read the final page. The water rights belong to you. Eliza looked at the dry fields beyond the chapel wall. Then they will not be used to control a marriage. You could demand payment from both estates. I could. And will you? No. The river should be administered by a shared trust for every village that depends upon it. Adrian looked at her with open respect. You have held the property for less than a minute. I have lived without it for 34 years. That is sufficient time to consider what wealth should be for. The formal reading took place at Rosemere House on Thursday. Trustees, magistrates, and representatives of both estates filled the drawing room. Lord Gideon stood beside the long table, with Mr. Lyle seated behind him. Cecily was absent. Gideon began without waiting. This gathering concerns the transfer of the Ashford Trust to my daughter. It concerns the lawful owner of that trust, Eliza said from the doorway. She entered wearing a dark green gown made by one of the palace seamstresses. Her mother's locket rested openly against her chest. Adrian followed, but did not offer his arm. The evidence belonged to Eliza. So did the moment. Gideon laughed. A dismissed gardener has no standing here. Eliza placed the marriage record upon the table. My mother was Lady Rose Ashford. She lawfully married Thomas Bell and gave birth to me 11 months later. Mr. Lyle examined the seal. It is registered, he said. Gideon turned upon him. You work for me. I work for the law governing the trust. You remembered that rather late, Eliza said. Mr. Lyle lowered his eyes. Eliza presented the baptism entry, the trust instruction, and the receipt proving Gideon had opened Rose's depository box. She explained the locket, the key, the hidden cabinet, and the botanical cipher. Each clue supported the next. Nothing depended upon a single convenient discovery. Gideon pointed towards Adrian. She has done this to become a duchess. Eliza faced the assembled guests. The Duke ended his marriage discussions with Lady Cecily before these documents were discovered. At that time, I remained a dismissed gardener with no recognized claim. Adrian spoke only then. Miss Bell's statement is correct. Gideon's face reddened. She manipulated you. No, Adrian replied. Your dishonesty removed every honorable reason for an alliance. Gideon turned back to Eliza. Even if Rose married, you cannot prove the child named in that record survived. A woman's voice came from the doorway. I can. Cecily entered, holding the missing letter. She walked past her father and placed it beside the baptism record. I found this page years ago. It names Rose's daughter as Eliza. Gideon stared at her. You ungrateful child. Cecily flinched, but did not step back. You taught me that inheritance mattered more than truth. I believed you until I saw what that belief made of me. The trustees compared the documents. Within the hour, they recognized Eliza as the lawful beneficiary of Rose's trust. Gideon was removed from control of Rosemere House and ordered to surrender the estate accounts for formal investigation. Eliza did not force Cecily from the house. She granted her an independent annual income. Cecily looked at her with disbelief. After what I did at the fete, I have not forgotten it. Then why help me? Because dependence upon your father made you cruel. I will not preserve the condition that encouraged it. Eliza returned to the palace gardens the next morning. The steward offered to restore her position. She accepted only after he agreed that no gardener could be dismissed at the request of an outside noble family. Within 6 months, she used part of the Ashford Trust to open the Rose Bell Botanical School for widows and working women. Adrian established the Shared River Authority in the names of both estates. He transferred the disputed water rights without demanding marriage, money, or control over Rosemere. Only after the school's first class completed its training did he ask Eliza to walk with him through the White Rose Garden. "I have been advised that dukes should not wait this long," he said. "By whom?" "Nearly everyone. They sound impatient." "They are." He stopped beneath the climbing roses. "I do not ask you to leave your gardens, your school, or Rosemere House. That is sensible. I ask whether you would permit me to build my life beside yours." Eliza looked at the man who had chosen uncertainty over a dishonest alliance. He had protected her without possessing her, and helped without asking her to become dependent. "You understand that I will continue working," she said. "I should be disappointed if you did not. And the school remains mine." "Entirely." "Then yes." 1 year later, Eliza attended the midsummer fete as Duchess of Redmere. She still wore her mother's locket. The palace gardeners stood amongst the honored guests, whilst students from her botanical school displayed the medicinal plants they had cultivated. No one ordered Eliza to empty her pockets. This time, the entire garden knew exactly who she was. Thank you for sharing this journey with us. Subscribe if you would like to hear another original story from the world of British aristocratic romance.